The first time my stepdaughter called me nothing more than a personal bank account, I smiled instead of arguing, because I already knew one decision would change all of our lives. She thought I would beg for respect. But by the next morning, she would learn that gratitude cannot be bought with money, and neither can loyalty. My name is Evelyn Carter, and I built a successful financial consulting company in Seattle after years of working long days and sleepless nights. 2 years before all this happened, I married Daniel Brooks, believing we would create a loving family together, even though his 20-year-old daughter, Madison, never accepted me no matter how hard I tried. From the day we became family, I paid for Madison college expenses, expensive shopping trips, luxury vacations, and almost every bill she had because I truly wanted her to feel supported. Instead of appreciating my kindness, she acted as though everything I provided was something she deserved, while Daniel kept telling me that giving her more would eventually win her heart, but it never did. One Thanksgiving evening, I invited our relatives to our home and hired a talented private chef to prepare a beautiful holiday dinner filled with everyone's favorite dishes. I believed the evening would finally bring us closer together, but before anyone even finished eating, Madison pushed her plate away, complained about the meal, and suddenly announced that she expected us to buy her a luxury downtown apartment as a holiday gift. I calmly explained that I would not buy an apartment because she was already living in a fully paid student residence and had not shown enough responsibility to manage such an expensive property. Madison glared at me with open resentment, insisted I had no authority over her life, and claimed she would only listen to her father because I would never be part of her real family. Before I could respond, she grabbed her glass of red wine and threw it across the dining table, staining the white tablecloth and splashing the polished hardwood floor while every guest sat frozen in disbelief. Then she pointed at me and shouted that her father always said I was nothing more than the family wallet, adding that I should stop pretending to be someone who mattered because my only purpose was paying everyone bills. I looked toward Daniel, expecting him to defend me after everything I had done for him and his daughter. But instead he stared at me with cold eyes and told me not to lecture Madison because she was not my child. In that painful moment, I realized I had spent 2 years trying to earn love from people who only valued what I could buy, and the truth hurt far more than any insult ever could. I quietly finished my drink, stood from the table with a calm smile, and wished everyone a pleasant evening before walking upstairs to my office without another word. While the rest of the house believed I was simply cooling off, I opened my laptop, reviewed every account connected to my name, and decided that, by sunrise, the free ride they had enjoyed for years would officially come to an end. The next morning, I woke before sunrise, made myself a fresh cup of coffee, and carried out every decision with complete confidence because I refused to let anyone use my kindness against me again. I canceled Madison credit card, stopped the tuition payment that had not yet been processed, and arranged for the luxury SUV registered under my company to be picked up before anyone else in the house was awake. Only minutes later, loud shouting echoed through the driveway as Madison watched the tow truck pull away with the vehicle she proudly showed off to her friends every weekend. She rushed back inside in tears, demanding answers, while Daniel stormed upstairs and burst into my office with anger written across his face, convinced he could pressure me into changing my mind. He demanded that I return everything immediately and accused me of embarrassing his daughter over one small argument, but I calmly placed the ownership papers and financial records on my desk for him to read. I reminded him that every expensive gift, every tuition payment, every vacation, and every luxury item had been paid for with my hard-earned money, not his, and that respect was never included in any of those purchases. Daniel stood there speechless as the reality finally sank in, while Madison realized for the first time that her comfortable lifestyle had depended entirely on the person she had insulted the night before. I looked at both of them without anger and quietly explained that generosity is a privilege, not an obligation, and anyone who mistakes kindness for weakness eventually has to face the consequences of their own choices. The silence inside my office lasted for several long seconds before Daniel lowered his eyes, realizing there was nothing he could argue because every document proved I was telling the truth. Madison tried to apologize, claiming she had only spoken out of anger, but I could hear that she was afraid of losing her comfortable lifestyle rather than genuinely regretting the pain she had caused. I took a deep breath and explained that trust is built through respect, honesty, and gratitude, not through expensive gifts or unlimited financial support that someone simply expects to receive forever. I told them I would continue paying only for responsibilities that truly helped someone build a better future. But every luxury, unnecessary expense, and special privilege ended that very morning. Over the next several weeks, Madison accepted a part-time job, learned to manage her own budget, and slowly began understanding the value of every dollar she earned with her own effort instead of someone else's success. Daniel also admitted that protecting his daughter from every consequence had turned her into someone who believed the world owed her everything, and he finally accepted his share of the blame. Watching them change did not erase the betrayal I had experienced that Thanksgiving night, but it reminded me that sometimes the hardest lesson becomes the one that changes a person's life forever. For the first time since our marriage, I felt something far more valuable than wealth because I had finally reclaimed my self-respect, and no amount of money could ever replace that feeling. Months later, our home felt completely different because the endless arguments had been replaced by honesty, responsibility, and healthy boundaries that should have existed from the beginning. Madison no longer demanded expensive gifts. Daniel treated me like an equal partner instead of a source of money, and they both understood that love can never survive where respect is missing. Looking back, I realized the greatest victory was never taking away a credit card, canceling luxury privileges, or having a vehicle towed because those things could always be replaced with time and money. The real victory was finally standing up for myself, refusing to accept disrespect, and proving that kindness should never be mistaken for weakness because people value you only when you first value yourself. If this experience taught me anything, it is that generosity should always come with healthy limits and that people who truly care about you will appreciate your heart long before they appreciate your wallet. Sometimes the most loving decision is allowing someone to face the consequences of their actions because real growth begins when excuses finally come to an end. Thank you for listening to my story, and I hope it reminds you to protect your peace, respect yourself, and never allow anyone to convince you that your worth depends only on what you can provide for others. Please subscribe to our channel and share this video with your friends and family. We create entertaining and inspiring stories for our viewers, and your support helps us continue making great content for you.